I got in an argument with my girlfriend, right? And it was about something super small, and I was telling her, I go, in her eyes, she was like, "This is not a big deal," and I'm like, "Do you realize that the things that are not big deals make big deals? Yeah. And if you can't deal with small deals and trust that those are microcosm to big deals." It's your lack of ability to deal with micro deals that lead you to the big deals that are the biggest problems. And that's what people fight about. So if you're only fighting about little deals, that means that you understand how to fight those patterns at a small level.
Jeez.
Then you don't have to deal with big deals.
Or you understand the importance of the little
Absolutely. So it's not like I'm trying to put light on a big deal and make it big. I want to say that this is potentially huge. So let's nip in the bud before it becomes that.
Dude, what's really crazy too is like, let's just say it's between one another, right? Two people. And one person holds it in. They have then they have this narrative, almost like this opening statement.
Right.
They can change the opening statement, or they can go along with the page.
Right.
And what they decide to do is they decide to write paragraphs and paragraphs
Of the story.
And before you know it, they're at the conclusion.
Done. Single-sided.
That's it.
They created the whole story, what you're
jeez.
thinking. They've also created responses in their mind to your responses.
Yep.
So they created this entire play in their head
Jeez.
about what the situation is. And anything that you say that sounds or smells like it, you're it. And it's validated everything that they've created the whole time.
Exactly.
So people never argue about what they argue about. Unless you're annoying. People never argue about what they argue about. They argue about the things that they let go. They thought they let go. And those things are annoying if you keep focusing on them. Hey, when you did this, it bothered me a little bit. And they're like, God, what are all these things that bother you? Can we just... And it's like, no, but if I deal with these things that bother me and I deal with the things that bother you, lovingly with a desire to find a solution, not because we're fighting each other, we're fighting against these feelings of being hurt.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden we don't have to deal with these big things. We don't have to write these stories. And I would tell her, I'm like, hey, this is not a big deal, just because in her mind it was if I verbalized it, then it must be a big deal.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's not a big deal, but it will grow into a big deal if I don't deal with it now.
Jeez.
Man,
Jeez.
it's crazy.
Right?
And when I'm saying this, I'm also a mirror, so like
I see the
I
exact
struggle
same
with
thing,
it.
yeah.
I have to get it out.
Yes.
That's why I'm annoying sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, hey, when you did this,
Yeah.
it made me feel and think this. And I don't want to feel and think this again when it happens, because not only will I feel and think that, I'll match it with what I felt here.
The crazy part.
And then I'll
yeah.
feel and think that, then I'll feel, think, and project.
And I'll
this.
add.
We said
Like,
the exact same
you
thing.
literally
just
build
now.
up the resentment, and eventually one day this implodes.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
And then
Dude.
it comes out in such a way, and you have no idea where all this anger came out, where this you just imploded everybody, and you're like, wait,
Yep.
what the hell just happened?
What I do.
What did I do?
That wasn't me.
But when you're self-aware of every single situation, from the smallest things,
Right.
and you're aware that this is bothering you, and understanding
Yes.
why you feel that way.
What you said was so powerful too, because you feel that way. When I bring it up, I don't go, "You did this." When I bring
Yeah.
it up, I don't go, "Hey, when you did this, I felt this."
Boom.
And that is the most powerful. And if you're really strong, and this takes a real man to do, and when I say real man, I mean like a real human, right? Woman, man. When you did this, it hurt
Ooh.
me.
That word.
Because at the end of the day, that's why we do that's why I flex.
Pain.
When I flex, I'm like, let me use my intellect. That's what I do. Like
Yeah.
if I'm hurt,
Yeah.
I'm just like, I will rain
Yeah.
down on you knowledge,
Yeah.
and I will quiet you from it, because it's just this volley that's unstoppable in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, they're like, wow, I'm sorry, and they learn their lesson. But secretly, I didn't express that I was hurt, and so I lose by winning.
Wow. So you try to mask the pain through the means of intellectual conversation.
Absolutely.
Just to make them feel so inferior that they don't know what they're talking
Absolutely.
about. But you're and actually you're masking. Wow, that's crazy.
Masking
It is
pain.
very
That's
crazy.
right.
It's very crazy.
Wow.
I think hurt and pain is literally, I mean, can be the prerequisite for any feeling.
crazy.
Anger,
Yes,
resentment, jealousy.
Yes.
It can all go back to,
yes, hurt, pain.
that's it.
I think I agree. I'm like,
Dude.
literally, as I'm thinking about it, because it's true. When and I've had it where people are like, they're mad, and they're so like, you can tell when people are proud in their anger. Right? They're like, and they just want to show how hard they are. When they're talking like that, I'm just looking at them, dead eyed, right? And I'm like, so what's the reason that you feel that? They're like,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that sucks. That sucks. But what's like, what is it? I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. They're like, I'm like, does it hurt? They're like, it hurts. And as soon as they say it hurts, I pour my love on them.
Oh.
That's when I'm like, I totally understand that. I would be hurt by that too, because they're able to get to the real issue. That's all it is, man. Just like, and we can, especially as men, it's like we're not allowed to be hurt.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
That's
A whole nother rabbit hole. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so funny too because like you'll see a change in their energies. They'll go from you're hurt.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's what.
But you have to agree with them.
Yes.
You have to. I mean, people. I get it.
Yeah.
I get why you're acting that way. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I understand it. But we have to at least acknowledge that there's something behind it. Because if not, then you're using anger to mask hurt and produce chaos. Because it's the only semblance of power you can control. But if you can give somebody to get to the hurt, and that doesn't mean don't flex. Because there's times when I will use my intellect to shut you up. Because you need to be shut up. You know what I mean? I'll use whatever I can to just flurry and be like, "Brah." And I don't care about the hurt game. I'm like, the ego's getting too big. It's just like, pop.
Let's bring it down.
Yeah, now let's talk again. And then I'll do that, right? And I'm not saying that nobody can do that on me, whatever. But I'm saying is that when it's people that I care about, like, hey, let's get to the hurt.
Dang.
And I get it.
Jeez.
I get it.
Wow.
Jeez.
That.
You can tell when a person wants to stay where they're at. You know what I mean? I just ask questions. I think I just ask questions. And here's the thing. If somebody's pushing hard, that means they're fighting against something heavy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If I'm trying to get a point and I'm getting louder or I'm getting more intense or I'm not breathing between my sentences, that means I'm having a difficult time getting through. Right? And even if it's not you, it could be my own mind, right?
Yeah.
That I'm fighting through.
Yeah.
So what happens is you have to understand that they're pushing hard because something's pushing hard back. You know what I mean?
Nice.
So what you have to do is you have to help reduce the tension so that they don't feel like they have to push so hard. And when they have less to prove, then you can ask more questions. When you understand their anger and their fury, it diffuses you, right? When I was angry, when I got kicked out of that, remember I was saying I got kicked out of the campus, my friend, I'm like, doesn't it piss you off that he did this and it was wrong? And he goes, it makes me furious. And I was like, oh, thank God. And he goes, but my fury won't help him be a better person. And I was like, but I wouldn't have heard it if he said that first. If he did not first acknowledge my pain, I would not have heard a thing he said. But he totally agreed with me and diffused me and then spoke his truth. So what you do is you have to make people feel heard. And then when they're heard, then you can consider giving them some sense of truth. I think that's an excellent question.
Thank you.
How do you feel? And then after that, you say,
I can relate to that. Definitely understand.
Yep.
okay.
I mean, that's what I would say. I understand.
Yeah, I would say how so.
How so?
And the reason I would say how so is because their initial statement is just their initial statement. And nothing is face value. Right?
Jeez.
So you say how so? Because let's say they say sad. You relate sad to what you define sad as. They say love, you relate it to what you define love as. So it's this heterogeneous mixture between their belief and your belief of a word that is universes apart. So you say how so you can get as many referential points to get clear on what their definition of that feeling is. Then you can start to say that you understand. Because if you say it prematurely, you're saying, I feel sadness based on what I define sadness as compared to your sadness. And I'm assuming that your sadness is the same as mine, which is an egocentric
So
perspective.
being mindful of your perception.
So what you say is, I don't know what you're saying.
Exactly.
And as soon as I say I don't know what you're saying, then I say, how so? How so? How so? Can you give me an example? Can you make some context with that? Oh, so you feel this. Yeah. And then this is this. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, this is, okay. I can understand that.
Interesting.
I'm not you, but I could definitely see how that feeling could be.
So it seems like in terms of feelings, right? When someone's
Yeah.
feeling bad or feeling pain, ultimately the resolution, that person doesn't necessarily want to be guided or, for you to solve the problem. They just want to be able to vent out their feelings
Right.
and be heard.
Right.
They themselves have the answer. It's just being understood.
Yeah.
Huge. So what happens is when we express our feelings, we are afraid to express our feelings because of judgment, right? Or some of our feelings are unpopular judgments,
Correct,
right? They're
yes.
not good. You shouldn't think this way.
Yeah.
So when you know you shouldn't think this way and you try to express it, the fear is don't judge me for how I'm thinking. I'm already ashamed of it. And we try to say, just so you know, I know it's wrong. right? And I
Dang.
shouldn't be thinking this, but so what happens is it's kind of hard because it's there's the variables in this: the listener and the listener's ability to not make judgment, right? To listen with the desire to understand. My
Yeah.
mentor calls it a caring, curious listener, the CCL. The caring, curious, it cares and it's curious. So it's not judging, it's curious, right? So that the power of that listener is extremely important because it gives the speaker the freedom to say what they're really feeling, right? Which is really important, really powerful. And then there's the person who is speaking, and they have to filter their words so that they can get the thought out without being judged.
This is
Right?
perfect.
Yeah,
Right?
that's
I love
huge.
where this is going.
Yeah,
huge,
so
man.
there's those two things, and then there's a third person, and I think this is like the higher or deeper level frequency. It's the person who speaks their truth, knowing and loving themselves, trusting that it's a process, confident in their consistent evolution and their faith in their own evolution, their growth, who speak with awareness and convince the other person that it's okay.
Crap, dude.
And then the highest level is when
this is
both people,
insane.
the speaker and the listener,
on
are
the same frequency.
they're on the same frequency. And literally all that happens is it's like
Yeah.
it's like when you turn the radio and it's like and then it's just this clear sound. That clear frequency. It's like welcome to da da da, and it just and it's just clear, and that's when you're like, there's no ego, there's no, it's just I want to know and I want to be heard, and that dance is just so clear
Yeah.
that you're literally living years of time and moments because you're not filtering, you're not judging on both sides. It's a want to know, so this magnetism, and this want to speak, and it's magnetism, and they just this is where, you know, and even in relationships where there's people that argue about, you know, me and my girlfriend were talking about this. We're like, you know, I could talk about this other girl's legs or this guy's eyes. Like I'll tell a guy his eyes are beautiful, whatever.
Yeah.
Like we could just talk about it, and there wasn't like, what does that mean? We just are having conversation. So we literally are so many levels above it, right? That we're able to move to new frequencies of conversation, right?
Wow.
But if not, we're still fighting on the little things. So it's the same thing with these type of conversations. With I guess it's four.
Yeah.
You know, the good listener, the filtered speaker, the confident speaker, connected speaker, and the connected speaker and connected listener.
Yeah.
An alone opinion is a waste to me. It's when two opinions dance. That's when I see beauty.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So what I would recommend is that the power of people being silent, I don't know if it's a power. People should feel free enough to be able to speak their mind respectfully. So you control, as an alpha, you control the space.
Yeah.
You don't control the conversation.
Correct.
That's what I believe a true alpha does. True alpha controls that space where somebody's disrespectful. You're like, no,
Yeah.
not here. That's where, so there's different levels. There's what we see as, you know, an alpha, which is like, yeah, right? But then there's like this spiritual alpha, which is like a whole different, it's a whole different world. And that's where what you do, you're a manager of energies, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's where power
Manager
is.
of energies.
Yeah, and you can only get there after you've mastered your energy and after you've really like loved yourself.
Because what happens is when you love yourself, you don't need to prove yourself. When you don't need to prove yourself, you care about other people's thoughts.
Because
right?
you're focusing on their
Yeah,
thoughts.
I want to know you.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to use you to get clear on how great I am.
Or to flex my own self,
Yeah,
just
like
to make myself
if
feel
you're
better.
silent, I'm like I win. Yeah, all right, good. I don't need to know you. Just give me what I need from you. Then I'm on my way. But if I already got what I need from me for me, then I'm like, what makes you tick? Right?
Dang.
And then if you get disrespectful, I'm like, that goes against my values. And I know me. So back up. So
Man.
yeah, I think it is interesting, and I do think, like you said, insecurity is huge.
Yeah.
We're afraid of looking stupid. Huge. We're afraid of looking stupid. Even when I do corporate work, we have to set rules about speak up, like step up, step down. If you're speaking a lot, step down, step back. If you're speaking not enough, step up. It's seek first to understand and then to be understood. Like just a basic rule. Just try to understand the person before you try to push your thought. You know what I mean? So there's certain like basic rules of engagement that are really, really important.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, I just feel like there's this well, obviously PC culture is intense and the pendulum has swung very far. But I think it needed to swing that far, but it needs to come back. So we need to discuss things, and we can't be so triggered by so many statements. And we just have to understand that humans are going to make mistakes in terms of how they speak.
It's almost like you're shunned.
It's just really, exactly. It's just really hard, especially with
Yeah.
social media. People get to be able to hate. We need something to hate, and it's easy to hate online than hate something that requires action.
Yeah, totally.
But
Just anonymous.
yeah, I just think that I don't know. I do like the idea of this whole listening thing, and I feel like I want to inspire people to speak more, but not speak from ego. Not speak to prove people wrong, but speak because they want to be heard and also are willing to hear. If we could do that, then that'd be a powerful space.
Jeez.
In my work, right? How do I just reduce the ego? How do I teach you? Let me see. How do I teach you to be like an amphibian? Like to work well in water and land. Because if you are a fish only, then the thought of land is hell. And if you're a land dweller, then the water is hell. But if I can get you to be amphibious, you can survive in both, then you're not as affected when one's attacked. So if you have a reduced ego and you can live in your personal, your ego, whatever, but at the same time you can dip into this other space, then it becomes easier to listen. Like,
Yeah.
I have ego, I do. But my ego isn't as sensitive as some other people's on very simple things. But if you raise my frequency up and deal with the higher frequencies, they may say something that just hits my ego to heavy way, right? So it's the same. There's no hierarchy. But what I'm saying is that the things that bother a lot of people kind of at this level of thinking, if your ego is reduced, they won't bother you. I used to say, like, with my wife, I don't want to argue about spilt milk. I want to argue about where to put the orphanage. That's what I want to argue about. You know what I mean? I want to be like, no, it needs to be here because blah, 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 blah. Why aren't you listening to me? Because the argument is at a higher frequency, and it's about things that matter more. You know what I mean? And then it keeps going up to where we're like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, should we hire this person? But they don't fit our values. Yeah, but they have this skill set. But okay, well, let's go back to our values and look at it. Right?
Dude.
They say small minds think of, what is it? Small minds talk about people. Mediocre minds talk about events. Great minds talk about ideas. So it's the same thing with the argument hierarchy. I want to argue about ideas.
Dang.
I want to be ego hit with ideas, not people, not events.
Dang.
Let's go to the idea space, right? And then evolve above that even more. Being right is dangerous. If right and wrong are invested in this conversation, then ego is there.
Ego is right.
If right and wrong are here, then so is ego. I think that's what it is.
That's what it is.
That's what I think it is to a certain extent. Obviously, there's different like global
Frequencies
versus.
in
But if right and wrong are in my mind, then ego's there. If you're right and I'm wrong,
Yeah.
ego's there. If I'm right and you're wrong, then ego's there, because there's this sense of identity creation in the thing.
Identity creation. That's
Yeah,
what it is.
you're validating, solidifying, fortifying, or destroying
Yes.
certain things. So it's a build or break process when you're in the conversation. But if you're in a conversation where there is no thing but to know, there is no thing, there's nothing but to know, then that means that you are admitting you don't know. And if you are able to admit you don't know, then ego can't really be present. What I'm saying is that when I'm in attack mode, and
Okay.
I'm fighting your ego to get you,
Okay.
who I care about, not your ego, and I have to put the ego in a corner and just like where he can't escape and he is seen,
I've been there.
right? And
It's almost like an image.
Oh
yeah, it isn't because it's
literally,
happening.
it's happening.
Right?
Holy shit.
Like
You feel it too.
Yeah,
I felt
there
it.
was something happening. We couldn't see it, but I could see all of it in that corner, and it can't escape. It must be dealt with. The ego, its skill is its elusiveness, its ability to agree and disagree for your benefit. Ego doesn't have a shape; it's a shapeshifter.
Wow.
So when you become Christian or you convert to Muslim, then all of a sudden you can use it as self-righteousness. And if you were a pagan, then you could use paganism as validation. You use whatever tools required to validate yourself. And to do that, you must invalidate others. Right?
Dang.
And so it's this process of this shadow light, but we don't know which side is the shadow light. In fact, they're both shadows because we use masked light. And I think there's a scripture that talks about it. Masked as one, Satan is masked as a creature of the light. I think it says that. He's masked as, how do you mask yourself as light? But it looks so good
Dang.
and righteous. You know what I mean? And it's like, then I'll be your righteous one. But if you're going to heathenism, then it's like, then I'll be your darkest one. I will shapeshift to validate the thing in you that destroys you.
Dang.
So by me saying, you're wrong, ego, by you saying, yeah, that's right, exactly, I said the same thing yesterday. Same thing.
Validating
I'm
your
doing everything I can to stay
You're
alive,
validating your ego
right?
to stay alive.
And it is life or death. You realize
I
that
wrote
too.
that down
Yeah.
too. Said if I don't talk, I'll die.
Yeah, the man who has nothing to prove proves everything already. When you reach a point where you don't have anything to prove, it's done. You proved it. Because you don't have to prove it. They're like, well, shit, okay, I can't do anything about it. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's like what happens is, the Pharisees in the Bible, the Pharisees were the teachers of the law, and Jesus came and he's like, woe to you, preachers of the law, you Pharisees. Like he just is like, he's like the whores, the tax collectors are getting
Yeah.
into heaven faster than you are. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And it's this kind of mindset because we want to, as soon as you want to judge, it says that the same level that you judge others, you too will be judged.
Of course.
Right. So for me, I'm
Dang.
like, fuck, I ain't judging nobody. Right. So you have fun judging me because that's yours. I don't care
Yeah.
what you believe. That's yours.
Yeah.
Enjoy your medicine. So that's that. But I think that something that's crazy is like one of the things that I was thinking about this. I remember when I was a kid, I was like walking on the curb and I'm like, okay, when I get to the end of the curb, I'm going to walk on the air. After I was watching Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, and he just like went like this and then stepped on the air, right? And I'm like, I'm gonna do that. Just if you have faith of a mustard seed, right? So I kept wanting to do it, but the thing that's so funny is we kind of realized as time had gone by and as I was just studying out religion and stuff like that, I realized I'm like, if the requirement of spirituality and deep connection to get to that level, by the time you get there, you won't tell anybody.
No, yeah.
Right? Like as soon as I'm able
makes
to
sense.
walk through walls or walk on water, if all of the development that has to happen for me to get there, showing somebody will be the last thing on my mind. Unless there's a deep alignment to God, the universe, and why it should be done. As opposed to look at my magic trick. So in the same way as we evolve, we'll get to a point where we don't need to get the thing we wanted. Like that type of, okay, want my father's love, I get my father's love, I'm like, I don't even need it, right? That space, that powerful place. And when I want this body, by the time I get it, I don't need it, right? That's the evolution. I want to be loved, I want to be loved, I want to be rich, I want to be rich, I want to, you know what I mean? Boom, boom, boom. This the list. You don't need it. But if you don't evolve correctly, then you create a vacuum, a mechanism that constantly consumes. And when that consumption becomes a part of who you are, the next thing you value, when you get it, whoosh, give you the high, sucked away for the next thing. And that's when you're chasing for the rest of your life.
My God.
Dang.
That
Right?
sounds like the lifestyle we have right now in this world.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And that's when ego thrives. Ego needs to recreate itself anew. In research, they call it hedonic adaptation, where
Hedonic
you win
adaptation.
the lottery, you get a new car. It takes about 3 months for it to become normal. You're like, oh, yeah, Maserati or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Maserati. Could have chose any other car.
Yeah, why did you choose a
I have no
Dude,
idea.
Lamborghini,
Lamborghini, I know,
Ferrari.
I know.
Are you
love a
serious?
Maserati.
I don't know how much. I think it was because I was when I was a
Gran
kid.
Turismo.
When I was a kid.
Hold on.
When I was a kid, I cared about.
Lamborghini?
Yeah, Lamborghini. I was gonna say.
Me in my garage in my Lamborghini.
I
You know what's
literally-
better than...
You know what? Even this, the fact that we're fighting over this is disgusting. See that? You see what I'm saying? We're in consumer mode. So yeah, so hedonic adaptation takes about 3 months or something for you to kind of, get over it to a certain extent. So then you need something else, right? So you have to learn that exists, and then you have to seek something that's more fulfilling. And the only thing that can be more fulfilling than a thing is a state.
Oh.
Are you okay, bro?
Right? Dude, but this is real talk. And there's another one. Wow. And the only thing more fulfilling than a state is the fluctuations of states. Because you will not always be
changing.
Zen.
You're always changing.
That is true.
You're not gonna. We're in this world to exist. There's seasons. You look at everything. Everything is constantly changing.
Look at
Yeah.
the heart-
And
look at the
only until
heartbeat.
you can accept the change as the constant, then you're always seeking a state, right?
I'm going home.
I'm out. But it even goes back to the pattern. Like it's like you have to chase the chase. You know what I mean? You have to love the journey. The adventure is more powerful than the result, the outcome, the destination. And all of a sudden, what happens is life finally becomes life. And you win by living.
Yeah.
That's where you're at. Versus getting there, you win by getting. You win by actually living and fearing and ego and fighting and
Yeah.
debating and discussing and discoursing and listening and reducing and communicating, communing and connecting and being. You know what I mean? Like it just keeps on going. Every piece is life. You see what I'm saying? They're all part of life. And I'm never, for a second, would I say that the goal is to, I just said the destination isn't it, the journey is.
Yeah.
It's the spectrum, it's the process.
It's the exciting stuff.
But the exciting stuff is seeing all things as exciting. If you say it's the exciting stuff, you've given me a bucket called the
Yes,
exciting
stuff.
stuff. And guess what's outside that bucket?
Not exciting.
Not exciting stuff. And you're always chasing the bucket of exciting stuff. But if you say all things are exciting stuff,
Man.
or all things are beauty, or all things are perfect,
To a state.
then it's all exciting stuff. You get sideswiped and you're like, what was that about? I lost my voice. It was depressing. I went into darkness.
Man.
Right?
So you were.
But it was an epic story.
Jeez.
It's an epic story.
Holy
Holy
shit.
darkness.
It's epic, and it sucks. And the moment that it sucked, I wasn't saying it was epic. Maybe a little me. There's a part of me actually that was like I would cry and say, I know that this is part of something bigger, but that's because of my psychology, what I've created within myself, and what has divinely been created in me. I guess I don't know. But what I'm
Yeah.
saying is that even when I would when I would cry about it, I always knew in the back of my head that this is for something greater. I always knew that. But for some people, it's not there, and for moments of time, it wasn't there for me. But that's just as beautiful. Not just retrospectively, within it, and within the pain coming in the future, that's beauty as well, and it's
love
perfect.
that.
It's like, is that called music? Is that music?
It's moving. Dude.
That's
Rhythm,
exactly it.
rhythm,
You have
yeah.
harmony, you have disharmony, you have silence, you have go, you have all of it is there. The symphony is the constant change, right? And then the moments where it pauses,
Yes.
which add more strength to what you
next?
say after.
What's
Remember,
next?
you know what I mean? Like that's where it's like this freaking crazy ass dance that we're in right now, and you're like, what?
Right. When the beat drops, it's like, boom.